Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 515. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra. Yes, it's a palindrome episode. We love them. They happen every once in a while, and we are ready to talk about all the things in the world of geek. And I am joined by two people to replace one co-host. That is Mr. Charlie Carden. He has been on business travel. He is now resting his bones. But to replace him, I brought in two people that have been around in the world of geek that I've been friends with for quite some time. One of them is a regular on the podcast. It is Chris from 1 Hour, One Decision. But the other member of that team, Tom, you were only on one episode of Co-op Mode a long time ago. We have not had yet. And I'm like, we got to have Tom on. He likes this geeky stuff. And now it's finally happening. So welcome, Chris. And Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
So, Tom, when we bring someone new on the show, we ask some questions. Okay. First, we ask you, what is your geek origin story? What made you the geek you are today? This is your pitch meeting if you want to tell anybody, your geek cred.
I guess. Well, I was born in 1983, and I say that because I like to say I was born in the year the Jedi returned. So big Star Wars fan, always have been. As a child, I really, really loved dinosaurs. So, I mean, I think lots of little kids probably do. But I was 10 years old when Jurassic Park came out. So that's pretty formative as well. And raised on a very heavy diet of Nintendo as a kid. So NES into SNES into N64. And so on and so forth as we went through the decades.
That is so formative because you're at the perfect time where really the kids ruled the world. There's cartoons, comics, video games, cereal. It was great. VCRs. You didn't have to worry about only watching TV on 4 channels. So it was a good time. Cable had everything. Last question I have. If you could pick one thing, if you were stranded on a desert island that you'd choose in all the geek media, what would it be?
This is kind of like the time travel-y question for me because it opens up a whole can of worms, right? You say something like a portable handheld video game system of some kind. And it's like, well, you don't have power. So that's good for like 2 hours and then there it goes.
Assuming you have unlimited power, like if you're going to watch them, like you had movies and like in the apocalypse, if you have movies and you have no power, it doesn't obviously help you. But assume you have a way to keep something going, and you had the way to watch it or play it or read.
Well, the thing that I've spent the most hours playing, is certainly the Pokemon franchise. Mm-hmm. I think they're replayable in a way that other things probably aren't. I can drop 100 plus hours into a Pokemon game easy. So I'd probably lean in that direction. And I would say probably whatever the most modern incarnation of that is. So, currently I would say, Pokemon Scarlet. But any one of them I think is probably a good pick if you have the power to run it. I think there are movies and things that I enjoy watching, but with a 1 hour runtime or 90-minute or even 2 hour runtime, like how many times can I watch A New Hope before I don't want to watch it anymore?
You pick The Simpsons and then you have how many episodes, right? And you're good to go.
Yeah, but how many of those episodes are good?
A lot more than people think. I like the new seasons. Okay. I know. Yep. All right. Well, very good. Well, now you know Tom a little bit better. But some folks you should get to know really well are our Patreons. Our Patreon Secret Friends Squad are awesome people. They keep the lights on. They help us pay our bills and keep making awesome content. And you could join the crew And what part of the crew is, you get exclusive shows, no ads, Discord benefits for as little as $2 a month. So basically, you get all of our exclusive, just for Patreon shows, plus everything we put on our network, ad-free and first. Those awesome people are our besties, Derek Trevelyan, aka the Figure Dude, Francie, the official hairdresser of SFU, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Mr. Luke Lore, Charlie's Uncle Tim Horan, Friends with Benefits, John Sedorf, Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, Brandon Myers, Corey in HD, Matthew Keel, Kirk Krug, Tanya Lee, and our Secret Friend Super Squad, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias. And folks, let me tell you, those awesome folks, the Nias family, they are giving away 5 annual Friends with Benefits subscriptions. So you get all our stuff for free, and it's pretty easy to do. All you have to do to enter is subscribe and comment to one of our YouTube videos, rate our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then DM us on Blue Sky at Secret Friends Unite, Instagram at Secret Friends Unite, or email us at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com with the screenshot of that you did the thing, your username, and you'll be entered. We're going to be announcing the winner on Friday, March 7th. There's also a YouTube video that went out, so if you didn't catch that, it'll be in the show notes as well. So you got nothing to lose and everything to win for a year. So check it out or share with your friends. So now that the business is over, now we can start the fun. So it's business in the front, party in the back. It's a reverse mullet. So we're getting into this with We Got This Covered, gentlemen. July 1978. Tom was, wow, your parents were probably super young too when this comic book came out. I was 3 years old. So I'm far older than most of everybody. So that's okay. But I was still too young to have read The Secret Society of Supervillains, issue number 15. 35 cents. The cover shows various people that you've probably never seen in a DC project, except for maybe Dr. Midnight at the bottom. We got one gentleman who's got, looks like Robin Hood with gloves and a big orb. We've got, maybe that's Captain Atom being held by a big shirtless dude. We've got Moss Man from He-Man, it looks like. And then we've got
the Swamp Thing at first.
Yeah, somebody missed the Florionic Man, someone like that. And we've got Captain Midnight, who is a part of the Justice Society at the bottom. And the man at the top says, "Crush them. Their deaths will be the first steps in our conquering of the earth." In the corner panel, it says, "Battle of the Century, the Secret Society versus the Justice Society." So, Tom, when you see this cover, what do you think?
I'm at a loss for words. It does remind me of some of the comics that I saw as a young whippersnapper, but even for me, that would have been the late 80s. So quite, a decade after this. I don't know. It doesn't look very like it would be very entertaining inside to me, but
what with all that action, awesome action on the cover?
I'm not big into DC. You're barking up the wrong tree here. I've always been a Marvel kid. Sorry.
Okay,
that's interesting because
Chris,
I don't. Yeah,
what do you think?
I mean, so this is not the Legion of Doom. This is like another offshoot kind of. This is
Correct.
What is it? The C team or whatever of supervillains?
Yeah, so even this, it's like the Justice Society of America is the team that came before the Justice League of America. So this is like the pre-heroes. And basically, if you think about it, like when that was the Golden Age, and then essentially they updated everyone with the new heroes that became the Justice League. Same thing with the Legion of Doom, the Injustice Society. The Secret Society of Supervillains were basically the Legion of Doom for that time.
Right.
And I will tell you some of those characters: the Wizard, Star Sapphire, Reverse Flash, Florionic Man, Blockbuster, Mirror Master, Copperhead, the Seismatic Twins, Killer Moth, Kronos, and Quake Master. So there you go. Those were some of the bad guys.
These seem like characters that James Gunn is definitely going to pull from in some way, shape, or form, because why not? You've got them.
And you'll probably kill them right away. Well, I will tell you, this is the comic that I would have not been on my radar. It was, definitely at a time when DC was doing a lot of interesting things. So it's available, though, on the DC Universe Unlimited app. So check that out if you want to read more about this comic.
Very cool.
These characters do remind me of people from like Venture Brothers or something, which I get is like a reverse, right? Like,
Yep.
obviously the Venture Brothers all of their characters are inspired by.
Oh, they pay everything.
Yeah. So
Like the Doctor Strange character, I love him. I can't remember what his name is. He's amazing.
Professor Orpheus.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, that is it for We Got This Covered. Check out this comic. But until you've read that comic, we've got to check in with our gal pal, our senior news correspondent. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, Madam Webb, Tom's on the show. You haven't met him before. But what I understand is he's very interesting to learn more about you. So I will give him your number. It is actually a payphone, Tom. So it's just, be careful. Some other people may pick up, but just wait. They'll get her. They'll bring her down. She's probably washing dishes or shining shoes somewhere. And they'll get you on the phone. You guys can have a heart-to-heart.
Yeah. I'd love to learn more about this mysterious individual.
Yes, she would love to tell you over a dinner, maybe. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, first story. This is a sad story. Gene Hackman is looked upon by many of his peers as one of the best American actors of the last 50 years. I guess he and Dustin Hoffman lived together in an apartment. He worked with everybody under the sun. He had success at all ages of his career. If you remember The Unforgiven, where he was the villain in that against Clint Eastwood. But for geeks all around the world, best known as the original Lex Luthor in the movies. He played a different version of Lex Luthor, was a little bit wacky and goofy at times, but brought some gravitas to the role of Lex. I mean, I think about this movie, it had Marlon Brando, it had Gene Hackman. I don't know how they got these amazing actors to be in a comic book film when there really hadn't been one before. But yes, he had retired from acting in 2004. And he passed away at the age of 95, along with his wife and several animals. There's no cause of death yet, and it's just really sad. But he's being forgotten. He's being remembered for all of his acting. He was in Bonnie and Clyde. That was one of his first big breakout performance. He was in The French Connection, which is a movie series I've always wanted to watch. As Popeye Doyle, I've heard it's a great series, crime drama, lots of great chases. He won an award for I believe it was called The Interpreter, where he was actually listening to communications from spies, interpreting it on the file. So I heard that's a really good movie too. And of course, Unforgiven, and his final performance, I guess, then he went on to write novels and wrote a novel in 2013. I mean, at the age of 80, that's pretty cool. So with that, gentlemen, any memories of Gene Hackman?
My fondest memory is him in The Royal Tenenbaums. That was a great film, and he was just so loopy and like I don't know. It's a shame, tragically lost him in such a weird way that like it's still very up in the air of what happened. But but he lived a fairly long life, all things considered.
If I can make it to 95, Chris, I'll call it a good day. So.
Right? Yeah. It's like, yeah, I've done my part, and look, like he has a very storied career, like you mentioned, The French Connection and, Unforgiven, like those, like he's got a lot of stuff under his belt, and, kudos to him for doing it. And then he went to write, like, I'm sure he's got a lot of ways to write a good story because he's been around the media for so long, right? So around great writers, great actors and stuff like that. So I would think he'd be good.
One of his famous roles was in Hoosiers. I mean,
yes.
As a coach. Great sports film. Dennis Hopper was in that film as well. Just one of those feel-good sports films that were probably elevated because of the performances. So kudos to you, Lex Luthor. May you finally meet up with Superman again, with Christopher Reeve. So we hope you have safe travels, and thank you for all the great work you've done. So with that, we need to pivot to something a little bit more positive or maybe negative, depending on how you view video game movies. Minecraft, probably one of the biggest properties in entertainment, for the last 10 years. One of the biggest successes in video games, toys, everything. All kids play it. It's part of their life. Some adults have played it. Well, we are getting the movie. This is coming out, and it's coming from Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre director Jared Hess. So that tells me there might be more to this movie than we assume.
Okay.
Because both those movies are, the first one was definitely a breakout, and Nacho Libre was very fun. This stars Jason Momoa, Jack Black, also including Jennifer, what's her name? Coolidge, Emma Myers, Daniel Brooks, Sebastian Eugene Hansen are in this movie as well. And essentially, it's focusing on Jack Black as Steve, and he has essentially been in the world. He's been creating the world. And this trailer gave us a little bit more information about the fact that the biggest protagonists or antagonists are going to be the folks from the Nether. That they're coming through. They don't believe in creativity. And one of the breakout scenes was there was a chicken that is essentially rode by a zombie baby. So there's that. And he hits Jason Momoa. And Jennifer Coolidge hits a Minecraft denizen who has escaped the Minecraft area. So we're getting a little bit of crossover into the real world. And I also want to say, if you've not seen it yet, they have released a Steve action figure that looks exactly like Jack Black. It's very odd. I appreciate the body positivity of Jack Black getting an action figure. It's just, I don't know who that's for. The kids don't want an action figure of Jack Black.
I don't think kids want action figures at all anymore, sadly.
That's very true. It's very true. So this movie, this is essentially the third trailer. I think it's the final trailer because this movie is coming out April 4th, so very soon in a month. So Tom, I know you said you played Minecraft back in the golden days. Any thoughts about this movie?
I mean, I don't have any desire to see it. I think Minecraft is a super fun game. I don't think it has the legs to be turned into a movie. Like, I don't know. That said, I think most video game movies, my opinion is poor until you prove me wrong. I thought that Sonic movie probably was going to be terrible, especially the first, trailer they had made for the original Sonic many moons ago. But the moment they redid the design on that Sonic, I was like, okay, wait a second. The people making this film actually care about their audience. And that gave me pause. And then I went and I watched that movie and I very much enjoyed it. And now I've seen all three of them and I think that they're actually very entertaining and good. So, hey, maybe video game movies have half a shot these days. They certainly didn't do well when we were kids. They were not good video game movies.
I mean, what are you talking about? Double Dragon, Street Fighter the movie, which then became Street Fighter movie the game. Yeah, there were some bad ones.
Super Mario.
Oh yeah, yep.
They were just bad one after bad one after bad one. I guess in the heyday, those Mortal Kombat movies, I think were okay,
well,
only because they're so
horrible.
silly.
Do not watch the second film.
But they're so ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's. I mean, it's just a movie about fights, right? Like back in the day when we watched DVDs, the DVD had the ability to just skip to the next fight. So again, know your audience, right? Just know your audience, know who you're selling what you're making to. So maybe if they know their audience, maybe they'll land this. I can tell you the three of us are not their audience. So
No, yeah, we are definitely not the movie audience unless like you were a young kid and now you're nostalgic for it at a certain age. Maybe.
Yeah,
like my son, he's 19 now. Maybe he'll be interested, but he's a little bit of a snob, so probably not. But he does like the Sonic films, so I don't know. Chris, you've got young kids. Are they into Minecraft?
Actually, no. They I guess the competitor Roblox has been something that's been in rotation. Roblox, Fortnite, now Marvel Rivals. I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, like I don't have any attachment to this franchise at all. But at the same time, the fact that you said that the director is Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre is definitely piqued my interest because those two are like, at least Napoleon Dynamite was just one of the funniest films I've seen. So if they had that kind of humor, I maybe my kids would be interested in watching it, and they'll go watch it with them and maybe have a good time. But like to your point about video game movies, I think recently we've gotten better at it. Like they've gotten obviously like Tom mentioned, Sonic movies have been enjoyable. The Super Mario movie was pretty decent as well.
Yeah. To be clear, when I said Super Mario,
yes,
I'm talking about
Dennis Hopper. The Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
John
Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Don't go look for it if you haven't seen it. It's not worth watching.
Weird Koopa guys with the little heads. So weird looking.
No, definitely do watch the animated Mario movie that came out fairly recently. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Do not go digging for the live action Super Mario movie from the 90s, I guess.
And it's like it's hard. It's a coin flip because Jack Black was also tied to the Borderlands movie, which was terrible, and now
he was also in Jumanji, which became a video game, was a board game.
Yeah. So it's like I like Jack Black. I know some people kind of don't like his manic, acting prowess or whatever, but it should be fun, maybe, hopefully.
Well, do this, Chris. Have your kids watch the trailer. We'd like their thoughts to say, is that a go or no?
Okay. I will do that.
Very good. We get to something that I am very excited for, and I think most people are very excited for this as well. X-Men 97 is getting season 2. Season 3 has already been approved and given the green light, but we will not be getting season 2 until 2026. We know that the season 1 showrunner, there was a lot of controversy around him. He had a OnlyFans page, and it was weird. And then Disney kind of shuffled him out, and then he got mad. But the proof was in the pudding, and the series was a great way to bring a show back, and not as a reboot, but just a continuation, but with better, definitely better performances and better animation. By all means, holy cow!
I'd say better writing, even too. Right?
Oh, even many ways, and the story, and they continue to adapt newer storylines from that weren't even out yet at the time.
Yeah,
and then apparently they are going to touch on the Grant Morrison new X-Men run from like the late '90s, I believe, is when it was, early 2000s, which is one of my favorites. So that's going to happen. So 2026, that would put it 2 years apart. At this point, I know Disney has talked about having things like TV shows be only 1 year apart. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that hurts a show. I know we've gotten used to that with streaming where there's multiple years between seasons. But
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. I mean, I'm trying to think, was Severance 2 years? Or was that a 1 year? But Game of Thrones often at times would go that way. Yeah. So at this point, we're expecting this in 2026. I'm excited. What were your thoughts on X-Men 97, Chris?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Because when you first saw it, I was like, okay, I guess this is kind of cool, but maybe I was hesitant to watch it, but I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a good series, and I think they touched on a lot of a lot of the comic stories in the show too, which I thought was really cool. And I think the people that were involved had a lot of passion to making the show right, and and it shows. So I don't know what's going to happen because this other showrunner, the main showrunner, has exited. But from what I understand, he actually already wrote or had a premise of season 2. So it's really like what happens with season 3, like what's going to happen with that storyline and stuff like that. But, because at least we know he's involved with season 2 in some way, shape, or form, I know at least this one will be pretty good. So I'm excited, and I'll wait because there's other stuff to watch right now.
Yeah, it's kind of great to see animation being a big winner on Disney Plus now. Yeah. Especially in Marvel animation, because I think you're going to talk about yourself. It's going to talk about new animated shows. So I'm glad we're getting these because I always felt like animation is a great pivot for comic book based properties because they already are cartoons in a lot of ways. So to me, it doesn't take me out of it. It just provides me an opportunity to get storylines maybe that are too expensive to do on the screen, and it can be done quicker. And then you can tell more of a story on how you want to pace it. You can have one-offs if you want, or a longer story arc, which is cool too. So that's where I'm glad that we're not forgetting that animation is a great medium for comic book based properties.
Yeah, and I would argue that DC for a while was doing it better than Marvel, and so the fact that now it's like almost flipped itself for now is kind of cool. So
yeah, Tom, any thoughts on 97 getting a second season? Where do the X-Men sit with you?
The X-Men are my favorite group of superheroes. So I was, like Chris, a little nervous about, getting a return to those 90s X-Men, but also very pleasantly surprised. For anyone who hasn't watched it, I won't say what happens because I think you should watch it, and I think watching it and experiencing the story is much better than me kind of just running over it and ruining it for you. But I will say that I lost my favorite X-Men in during the show. Fortunately, my second favorite X-Men steps up to fill in the role, even in the opening credits, which was cool. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, we just subbed in A for B. I guess I'm okay. We can keep moving. So yeah, no, I'm glad it's going to get more episodes. I think they did some interesting things in terms of, it does look better than the old 90s versions, but they still kind of animated it the same way, which makes it a little weird sometimes because I feel like they almost drop frames and stuff on purpose, like to try to make it look like like it still could have come out, alongside that original show. It's a little weird, if you're used to watching modern animation and then watch that kind of in step with it. But still, overall, very happy with it. Really glad that we got new storylines. Great that it's coming back. Likewise would be a little bit concerned about a new showrunner, but if they can figure out a way to transition the material, it can be fine, assuming the rest of the staff stays the same. So
absolutely. And I do appreciate the series finally redeeming Cyclops. I feel like Cyclops is always painted as one way and nobody really likes him. I felt like it was a good balance of Cyclops, and they did some great ways of showing his powers and abilities. So I thought that was really cool. That's true. One of the things is when the X-Men kick ass in this show, they really kick ass, and I love it. Yes. It just seems that's amazing. So
I agree 100%. And yes, Scott Summers gets pooped on a lot and really gets his day in this show. So if you're a Cyclops fan, I'd recommend watching it as well.
No, no longer known as just getting punched in the gut by Wolverine. So yeah, there we go. We move on to Star Wars. So this is going to be exciting for Tom. It's going to be a little less exciting for me. And Chris, we'll see how you feel. But there's been a lot of news about Star Wars lately, especially around Kathleen Kennedy. They've been talking more about the properties and which ones are moving forward. As we've known that Star Wars has had a very rocky history post, basically the rise of Skywalker and kind of getting a movie made. And then they've also then had some TV shows that have been, well received, some not so much well received. So, but the good news is we've got Andor coming out very soon, season 2. That looks amazing. I love that first trailer. It looks like they're going for a completely different tone, which I like, but I'm guessing there'll be more to it. But that's kind of showing people, hey, we're not just brooding. We're not going to tell long stories. We're also going to have really cool action. So the writing will be there, but now you're going to get some kick-ass stuff. So really excited for this. But with that, let's get into the news. So there was rumors that Kathleen Kennedy was going to retire. And oh my God, everybody was like, oh my God, who's going to take over for her? And it led to a lot of conversations. Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau, Filoni, what's it going to be? Obviously it's over Lucasfilm, not just Star Wars. So it's Indiana Jones and quite honestly, Willow, I guess, which maybe not coming back. And there's just not a lot else with Lucasfilm because at this point, that's kind of been their main properties. So with that, though, she isn't retiring, but she says she is looking at successors because obviously she is 72. You're 72, you're not looking at another 80 years in business or whatever. So she is looking, and she's been very successful, worked with Steven Spielberg. So she's definitely earned her stripes, but she's not a creative. She is a producer. She makes everything happen. That's what she knows how to do. So, but she addressed that. So basically they're going to look for that. So that's kind of been moved forward. A successor is coming, but don't get too excited if you're thinking she's leaving. She's staying there. But one of the things that she talked about was where each of the series is going to happen and also the movies. So she mentioned a couple of things. So we know we're getting The Mandalorian Grogu is the next film. It's coming 2026. She also confirmed that Sean Levy's movie, potentially starring Ryan Gosling, will follow that. It's a standalone movie set about 5 or 6 years after the events of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. She's producing both. She also said that Simon Kinberg has just begun writing films in his trilogy, which she describes as the next iteration, a new saga. She then didn't mention the movie that would feature the return of Daisy Ridley, but did say that James Mangold film is still in the script stages, which was the one that was going to happen like 10,000 years in the past, talking about the origin of the Jedi. And then basically Taika Waititi's film, there's like nothing on it now. So he's working with another writer now. And she said, I'm sure it will be awesome when I see it. And then we are going to be hearing a lot more about Star Wars with Celebration that's happening this year in Japan, I believe. So that will be probably the next time we see a lot of other things. And then, so that is the first part of our Star Wars news. So anything you'd like to address with any of the things I just discussed? I've already talked about how I get frustrated with Star Wars. It seems like they put out an idea first and they're like, oh, then the script and the directors and everything will come later. And we're like, just don't announce anything until you got a script. You're good to go with the director and it can move forward because they've struggled with Han Solo. A lot of directors were let go. So it's kind of frustrating if you're waiting for a new movie to come out. And it's been, quite honestly, by the time Grogu and the Mandalorian comes out, it's 7 years. And that's a pretty long gap. Considering where we get. So that's where I'm at with the movie. So Tom, you're the Star Wars guy. So and we do have a Star Wars podcast if you ever want to be on that I'm not part of. You're more than welcome to join Charlie and Mark. They are the yin and the yang because Charlie's more old school, Mark is more new school. So if you're interested, let them know. I'm sure they would love having you on. So with that, your thoughts?
I agree with you in that they love to talk about all these ideas and things and talk about films that are in development and then those things never arrive. And I'd love for them to just shut up and wait till something's actually in real development before saying anything. Because it just seems like they have all these ideas. They want to stay relevant, I think is really what it is. And it's always Kathleen Kennedy. It's always some higher up in the company who's running their mouth, I guess, justifying their, big fat paycheck. Whereas the creatives who are actually working on it, like they're down there in the trenches doing what they got to do. And then the plug gets pulled on their projects, more times than it doesn't. And that's really frustrating as a fan. I just kind of wish they would just stop. I don't think we need more Star Wars movies, honestly. And I'm somebody who loves Star Wars, but I agree with you. Like, it's much more important to have a good idea and a plan and really flesh that out and really know what you're doing before you start. I think the biggest problem with the sequel trilogy is that they sent J.J. Abrams out into the desert without a script. And like, what? Like, how do you have a director shooting scenes, but you don't even know what your movie is? Like, that's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that they didn't have a 3-movie plan before they started shooting the first movie. Like, I get why that happened with George Lucas. in 1977, in the earlier 70s when he started
He thought
making
he was probably
Star
only
Wars.
going to get one movie, and like, I don't expect people are going to anymore.
Exactly. So when you finish making Star Wars and they're like, okay, what's next? And he's like, I think I'm going to need a minute to figure that out. It's like, yeah, because you didn't expect this to go that well. But when he went to go make the prequels, 20 years later, George Lucas had a plan. Maybe he didn't execute as well as we would have liked, but he definitely had a plan. He had ideas and scripts, and he had a vision for how those 3 movies were going to go. And so we could pick apart the prequels, like crazy, but it's clear that from the beginning of Phantom Menace to the end of Revenge of the Sith, there's a story happening, right? There's a plot and things set up from this film, set up the next film, which sets up the third film. There's no going back and redoing things and retconning stuff throughout the trilogy. And the sequel trilogy, which should have learned so much from 2 other trilogies that came before it, is a mess.
Yeah.
It suffers from a lack of direction. Maybe there are redeeming qualities to it. It's certainly visually very impressive. But that's not what I want. You know what I mean? That as a fan of this, I love the storytelling and thank goodness. The books have been good. The comics have been great. The video games have been excellent in recent history. So like, let's just stay over there. I don't think we need Star Wars films just to make Star Wars films. Sony steps all over themselves every time they try to make a Spider-Man adjacent film just to make one.
You're being unfair to Venom, Madam Web, Craven, and Morbius too. You're being unfair to them, Tom. They are fine, upstanding films to make money, or not.
I will say that the Venom trilogy was at least entertaining, but my expectations were so colossally low for that.
They know what they were making, and I think they succeeded.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of it, right? Yeah. Is know what you're setting out to make and then deliver, execute. And I don't think they know what they want to make with Star Wars, and that's why they keep fumbling it. I think the Mandalorian Grogu movie, even though that story ended at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian and should have stopped there, at least I think that will pay off in some way because it will tie together a number of other properties, like the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all these shows that are happening kind of all together will coalesce into this film, and that film will tie it all up, or at least that's the plan.
Well, isn't that what Filoni's film's supposed to do? It's like supposed to be like his heir to the empire or whatever it is. That's supposed to be his final thing, is tying everything together. And like, that's going to have 85,000 characters. Good luck with that.
Yeah. That's the real problem, right? Is when you have a huge ensemble cast, no one gets any screen time and the movie suffers for it. Again, sequels.
Unless it's like Endgame, and you can
multiple parts,
thread that needle really well. I will say it's funny because I think Lucas, love or hate him, he just didn't care what people thought. And so he didn't change his movies between movies. He just kept going with it. And I believe the sequel trilogy, they tried to pivot when people thought negative of certain aspects. And obviously when you fire the director you're originally going to have for it, and then you say, JJ, you're our only hope. And he's like, okay, now I got to do to correct things that he did in his movie. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I always feel bad for JJ. He did his best, but he could have used 2 movies to clear up all of the threads, but he got one. So it was a tough film to do.
It should have been his trilogy. I don't particularly like JJ Abrams, but at least it would have been a singular vision.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the biggest problem is a lack of clear direction and vision. I think if you're going to tell a story, you need a storyteller.
Yeah, visionary. And Kathleen Kennedy is not she's not Kevin Feige. She is the person that puts the deals to talent together. She is not that. They don't have a Kevin Feige right now. They have a story group or something, which makes it very difficult to say what is the direction of Star Wars, and that's really hard to do. But I've spoken too much. Chris?
No, I mean, I like the thing is they have someone in the shadow, like just literally like standing in the corner this entire time with Dave Filoni. Like he like is the second coming of Lucas. And it's like he could be the one that just gives you the whole vision of what's to come with Star Wars, past and present and future, right? And it's like, but they're not giving him the opportunity. And it's just like, why? Why are they doing this? They have someone that could do this for them. And like he could, like, I mean, there have been
he's the chief creative officer of Star Wars now, right? That's his role, I believe.
Yeah.
So
I don't know exactly his title, but they did elevate him in the company. And you could tell anytime you listen to commentary and people talk about their interactions with him, they talk about what a great resource he is. They talk about how he knows everything and can really help guide them on the path. So I'm glad that he's there in that respect. But I'm with you, Chris. Like, I would just give him the power instead of going, oh, we need to have Jon Favreau do this. Well, Jon Favreau's a busy guy. Like, he's doing a lot of things. Hand it over to somebody who genuinely cares is the way that
and like, it's not that he has to, like, just like Feige, like, have that vision and have other people execute on it, that he's trusted. Like, in the shows that he's been involved with, he's clearly has a roster of directors that he trusts. And it's like, let them go do this. But I don't know why they have to get all these other people involved. This just makes no sense.
Yeah, Star Wars by committee seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
And they do it with the stuff that's the expensive stuff. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Yeah. It's so lopsided. It's like they have such a good handle on it, kind of on the small screen level, which is so much less risk. And then when they go for they take these huge swings, and then they can never land any of them because they just keep pivoting and changing their minds. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, Han Solo should have been a slam dunk, but obviously when you fire directors, then you bring in Ron Howard, which I like Ron Howard, but he's not he's kind of risk averse. He knows how to land a ship. And then that project had just a lot of problems. I would say this at this point. I think George Lucas, if you look back at the original trilogy, Lucas did his best work when he was the visionary behind it, but then he allowed great screenwriters and very good directors to bring his vision alive. You got better scripting, you got better direction, and I would love to see that as well. So if it's Filoni who comes in as now the visionary guy, and he hires the right people, and he allows himself to be open-minded to say, I'm not just going to be focusing on my own characters or focusing on what George did. We're going to explore new worlds. And I hope that they do, because I think that's what Star Wars needs to do. It needs to get out of its incestuous relationship with all the characters knowing each other, and it's only across 60 years. I'm like, we need to do something different. So we can't just keep having cameos of characters. Oh, look, it's that person. Yoda showing up in the prequel series. What was the prequel series? The Apprentice.
Okay.
No, not the Apprentice. What was it called? The Acolyte. Yes, I think having Yoda show up at the end just felt like, really, this is what we're doing. That's going to be the big takeaway at the end of this series is Yoda's going to get involved, because we know how Yoda did with the Sith. Didn't go very well. So, oh well. We should probably move on. Last story, The Punisher. Depending on how you felt about Jon Bernthal, his role as Punisher in the Netflix series and also on Daredevil, a lot of people loved him. Some people don't like the Punisher, what he stands for, kind of how he's been subverted by a lot of very interesting people. But probably the best version of the Punisher we've gotten since probably the Thomas Jane iteration. But he is apparently going to be involved in Daredevil Born Again, and he will be getting a one-shot, similar to Werewolf by Night, which was one of my favorite things that Disney has done, where it didn't have to be a whole series. It was just like a mini movie of a character. It told a complete story, and it was amazing. Punisher's getting one. So this should be interesting, and this is going to be more about the Punisher and the Kingpin, their relationship, apparently, from what I've heard. It's going to be based on a early 90s series of Punisher comics. So at this point, and I know Bullseye will be one of the big antagonists of the Daredevil series. He was introduced, not known as Daredevil, or sorry, as Bullseye, but now he's going to basically be really embracing that role. There was just a recent clip where I saw that they were battling on a staircase. Pretty brutal battle. So if you get a chance, watch that. Pretty cool. So with this, and apparently Marvel has even said they want to potentially explore more of the Netflix series characters, which would be Luke Cage, Defenders, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones. I will say Jessica Jones, yes. Luke Cage, yes. We'll leave Defenders and
Defenders and Iron Fist.
Yes, exactly. So
unless you recast the whole thing, but yeah.
So this is happening. So this should be a lot of fun. I'm glad they're doing this. I think this is where Marvel should lean into with characters maybe that are less deserving of a full series. Like maybe Moon Knight didn't need all of those episodes. A lot of people liked it. For me, it was just way too slow. But this is what we're doing. I hope Marvel does more of this. What do you think? Is this the right approach for more Punisher? Anybody else you'd like to see get a one shot?
Who would I like to see? Darkhawk?
Darkhawk? Sure.
Yeah, why not? I mean, like get everyone from the Midnight Suns. Like Ghost Rider could be a cool one shot. You know, at least like because I think this gives you an opportunity to kind of test characters, right? See what the fans are like. If they're clamoring for this, it's like, okay, then let's greenlight a movie or a little or like a mini series, whatever it is. And I think that's it's a cool concept, I think. And I'm excited to see John Bernthal do his Punisher. And it's cool that he's gonna be doing it again in Daredevil. So yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for that to. And is it supposed to come out this year? Or you're on mute. Todd, you're muted.
Do not see a date, but if they do it like they did with the Werewolf by Night, it will be a fall special, although it's not very Halloween-y. But yeah, that would be cool if it makes sense and it links in with, because we're getting 2 seasons of Daredevil Born Again. They basically filmed it back to back, so we'll see. Basically, it was 18 episodes that they filmed, and they're just breaking into 2 seasons. So I think that allows them to then do a year right in a row versus waiting a couple of years down the road. Mm-hmm. So, Tom, one shot. Did you see Werewolf by Night?
I did see Werewolf by Night. I also enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I do think they should do more of those things. I'm not a real huge fan of John Bernthal as Punisher personally. I really did love Thomas Jane in the role, and I did like it was Ray Stevenson, right?
Who did War Journal.
I like that one too. And obviously we're not going to get any more from Ray, but unfortunately, and I'm really curious how they're going to solve that in Ahsoka. But anywho, I just segued myself into
Star Wars,
the dead zone here. But my point was, I'm not a huge fan of John Bernthal, and I think some of that is residual hate from him because he was such a good villain in Walking Dead in the early years there. Yeah. And so maybe he is a good Punisher, in hindsight. I'm not sure. But I'm with you, Chris. Like, I think Marvel has an opportunity to do more with their, BC roster, because, I'm kind of tired of how many characters they've got going on in the live action space. So like, let's do them on the small screen, do them in animation. Like, honestly, I think Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a pretty cool show in the animation space. The Marvel What Ifs have been pretty cool, but I haven't seen the third season. Even just like Marvel Rivals, right? Like we have.
That animation's amazing.
Yeah.
You've got all these interesting characters there. Let's take some of them and put them into their own shows and things. Like, I think that could be cool.
Tom, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but Ray Stevenson is being replaced by Rory McCann, aka the Hound from Game of Thrones.
After I said it, I remembered that that's what they were doing, and I'm not a fan of it. So. I probably forgot on purpose.
It's different feel. Big guy, different feel. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know that he has the gravitas to carry the character.
Really?
Just because they're okay. Like, listen, I think he was really cool in Game of Thrones. I think he did a good job in that role, but I don't know. It's a very different character.
Absolutely. He kills a lot less children and people. With that is it for the news with Madam Web. But now it's time for us to check out what we've been geeking about in our favorite place for food, drinks, and fun. And that's the Geek Easy. Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy. Cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So, Chris, kick us off.
Oh man, a lot of newer, like Reacher season 3, which I totally forgot came out, so I was super excited to get back into that. So watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm always in for Reacher because that's the guy who should be playing Batman in the DCU. Just so you know,
you think? Okay. He was Hawk. He was Hawk in Titans.
Yeah. So, and he said he put his hat in the ring for Batman. So, I'm down for that, especially if they're playing an older one. Anyway, so and then the other show, which we were kind of talking about, the Marvel animation, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, finished that show. Was pleasantly surprised by that. It was like when it first came out, they were showing pictures of it. I was like, this is kind of weird. And then you watch it, it still looks kind of weird, but then it grows on you. Like the way that the animation, because like, especially if you like pause it, it does look like you're looking at a frame, like a comic book frame. And it's really cool. It's a really cool look. And they've taken some liberties because it is not the 616 Spider-Man. And although the guy who voices Spider-Man is, well, first of all, he's the Spider-Man that's in the What If, but he's also he sounds very much like Tom Holland. So I was like, okay. But anyway, that's where it was like kind of confusing. It would have been cool if they had someone else do it just to have like a different type of voice. But anyway, because like they changed, some of the characters like Harry Osborn and Norman. I mean, they're still kind of, Norman's still very diabolical, but like it's a slow burn to what he's trying to become. And then like you learn a lot of other characters that you're like, oh, okay, they went that way. And like it was pleasantly surprised. And I've heard that they already greenlit season 2 and 3 for that one as well. From what I understand,
I think so. Yeah, and they've done a good job with updating, like using the original theme song.
Yeah,
with more of a hip hop track.
Right.
And then they've mixed things up because they do have elements that feel like it's the MCU because they talk about like the Civil War that's happening, the Sokovia protocols, General Ross, and then you talk about like the airport fight.
Yeah,
but Spider-Man's not involved. It's very interesting. But then they go back to like old heritage characters like Dr. Otto Octavius. He looks very similar to his old school. Then they have like characters that like the Unicorn. That is such a throwaway character, which I'm glad they did. And then you've got the guy that's obviously going to become the Rhino. Right. And then you've got other characters. So I'm loving it. Matt Gargan, but then you've got a mix of things. And then you've got Nico Minaro, who is in Runaways, which is one of my favorite comics. And she's in there too. She's like kind of his Mary Jane, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like if they're going to add the, like is Black Cat going to show up? Because clearly they've kind of hinted at other things that are in the works. So, and new spins on it. So, all right, I'm done gushing over that. I did get to see Brave New World. That was pretty good. I think it was fine. Like it could have just been another episode of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, but here we are.
Quick question, Chris: would you vote for Bucky?
Would I vote for Bucky? That's a good question.
Such a weird thing, running for Congress.
Probably not. Probably not. It's a weird thing.
You just put in some code words, and all of a sudden, somebody in the government just goes sideways.
Yeah, we jotted down some words. I don't know what this means. Yeah.
Like, unless did they address that in somewhere where like that?
I don't know if anybody really knows who he is, really. I mean, outside of, if they really, I mean, I know that, I don't know if they ever showed him like attacking anyone. I know I don't know. It's just weird. Very weird.
And finally, last thing I saw recently was Companion. And that movie was really good. I really enjoyed my watching that. I was pleasantly surprised by it because it was like, because they showed you like, especially with the trailers, it was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But like, there's a lot more twists and turns in the movie. I think it was fairly short, like an hour and a half. I think it was a really quick watch, and I think it was just really well done. And filmed in New York. Anyway, and then finally the other book. I mean, I've been reading a book very slowly, but pretty good. Golden Sun, which is part of this Red Rising trilogy series by Pierce Brown. It's just part of a book club I'm doing, but I thought it was pretty good. It's kind of like got Hunger Games, but like in space vibes to it.
Okay.
Got like a YA feel to it for sure, but
kind of like Ender Games where they send kids to battle.
Basically, yeah. Like, there is a scene where there's like the first book is kind of about that whole thing, like the culling, so to speak, the best of the best. But like kind of the weird stuff that happens is like, kind of gave me like for some reason. Edge Runners vibes, because like there's augmentations and things like that happen. So it's like, oh, okay, so it went there, and I thought that was kind of cool too. But yeah, pretty good series so far.
A lot of good stuff, man. I don't know how you keep up with all the kids and everything's going on.
Yeah, it's just you stay up late. That's all.
Does your wife watch a lot of the stuff with you, or do you have things you watch with your wife? They're like, I don't want to talk about that.
No, well, Reacher is mine because that's
okay.
But we did watch the Spider-Man series and Brave New World together, so
that's good to hear.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, Tom, what have you been watching? What you been reading?
Okay, so I don't do a lot of book reading at home, or I should say, because I get motion sickness. I have a lot of commute time, but I can't read a comic or a book or anything in that time. It kind of sucks. But what I do instead is I listen to audiobooks. So, Chris is very aware of this because I talk to him all the time about it. So if it comes out in the Star Wars space and they almost always do an audiobook of it, and I listen to those. And so every single one of them as they come out, I get them. And the most recent one is called Reign of the Empire. And it follows
RAIN? Like it's all about weather?
No. It's about the early days of the Galactic Empire. It follows Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera, and kind of their individual paths and how they're all going to kind of coalesce and become the firebrands of the early rebellion. So, pre-Andor, basically, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's early. Okay.
Yeah. So enjoying it so far, but I'm only a few chapters in. That's my audiobook right now.
Tom, can I stop you? This is going to sound dumb, but this is my brain now. Every time I hear Mon Mothma, I think of when Dr. Evil says magma. It's just in my mind now. I don't know why. It's going to be in your brain now too. You can thank me later.
I thought you were going to talk about Mothra.
That's you could do that too. What would you like?
I'd prefer Mothra because I am a huge Godzilla
fan. Oh, I love Godzilla. Pro tip for you too. I don't know if you've ever got these before. They're called C-bands. They put them on your wrists and they go on your like basically a pressure point. They help with motion sickness. You can buy them fairly cheap, but it's drug free. You just wear them, and I've used them for VR and lots of different things.
It works.
Give it a try. You're like $5 or $10 at like Walgreens.
Okay, sure. I'll certainly check it out. Interestingly enough, I don't really get motion sickness in VR. What happens for me is if I'm looking at a static image, but I'm feeling motion,
Got it. Okay.
That's when I get it. So that's why I can't read a book or even play a video game while in motion because the motion, especially of the car. So like
I have that with flying, and these have helped a lot. So give it a try.
Okay. Listen, I'll try anything. But fortunately, I do have time at home. So I do read comics. I read all of the ongoing Godzilla comics.
Ooh, there's a lot of them. There's like some crossovers that are happening between like DC, I believe, and some other characters. That's cool.
Besides Godzilla, I, of course, follow the Star Wars comics. Not a big surprise for anybody here, I would imagine. And I also follow the Ninja Turtles comics, which I think this might be a hot take. I don't know that it is, but I think IDW's version of the Turtles is my favorite version of the Turtles. And like, there have been a lot of versions of the Turtles in my lifetime. I grew up with them in many incarnations.
Archie Comics version of Turtles.
And, and then there's a modern run of the Turtles that's done in the Saturday morning cartoon animation style, which is fun and fourth wall breaking. So if you're not looking for something terribly serious, that's something to check out. I think it's called Saturday Morning Adventures.
Yeah, there's one for Dungeons and Dragons. If you like that old cartoon, there's a few others that they did. It's really great.
Perfect. I think that's it on the reading front. On the show front, Dragon Ball Daima just finished. 20 episodes is all it's got, but it's totally awesome. I would highly recommend it to anybody who is a fan of Z because it comes right afterwards. If you're a huge fan of Super, like I was, I could understand your hesitation and being like, but I wanted more Super. What the heck is this? But please do give it a shot. Like I said, it's only 20 episodes. It is now concluded, so I have high hopes that they will, in fact, now return to Super. Fingers crossed. I love getting a weekly Dragon Ball show. I love getting weekly everything, which is why I think the comics, and why I like anime, because you get pretty consistent throughout the year, an episode a week of something. I enjoy that much better than binge watching something. So currently, I'm also, besides Daima, which just finished, I'm watching Solo Leveling, which I would recommend. Took me a while to get to that show, but I think it's really good. I also watch the ongoing Pokemon series, which
Concierge? No.
no. It's in English they call it Horizons, but it's based on Scarlet Violet, and it's post Ash Ketchum, which
That's right. He finally won and retired.
which was something that needed to happen. It needed to happen. It needed to happen a long time ago. Probably should have happened at the end of the X and Y series. That would have been a great time for them to have called it on Ash Ketchum. But they dragged it out. And fortunately, when they finally did Sunset Ash Ketchum, it was well done. So I was happy about that. And I'm happy to have a show that doesn't have him anymore, because it was time for that. So that's a good show. If you like Pokemon.
I love the Pokemans.
I guess if you like more mature stuff, I do have a couple of mature things I watch. Invincible, I think, is totally worth watching.
How much is left?
Not much.
Is it all out now?
I don't think the last episode. This was the last episode.
I watched until the last episode that was out, so I'm probably maybe 1 or 2 episodes behind.
Yeah. I don't think it's done. They've only done like 6, I think, so far this season.
Okay.
And I don't feel like it ended in a way that was like, that's the end of the season.
That was season 2. Season 2 felt so anticlimactic. It was like, that's it. Yeah.
And can we stop doing shows that only last for 5 or 6 episodes and then the season's over? Like,
or the breaks.
They cut them
Cobra Kai. Like, what the heck was that?
Yeah. So I loved Cobra Kai. It is over finally, but the way they butchered that 3rd season drove me crazy. 5 episodes here, then wait 6 months, then 5 more episodes, then wait 6 months.
Netflix knows how to keep us around, right?
Just make it a weekly show.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree. I don't think that whole need to drop all at once really
didn't do anything for anybody.
No, once it's out, you can binge it. So it's not like you have to worry about it. I love the weekly drops, but that's just me.
There's a reason that it worked as a platform for television for decades. Sorry. It's the instant gratification culture drives me crazy.
This is like Festivus in the spring, where it's an area of grievances. We can all have them. It's okay.
Okay. I think I'm done.
Okay. Well, very good. Yeah, I've liked a lot of the things you talked about. My son is my touch point to anime, so I also need to get him to watch the Castlevania series. That's on my radar. Need to watch that because I'm behind on that. And then and he's been keeping me up with other things, and I think blanking on the name, Demon Slayer. We need to catch up on that too, because we really enjoyed that. And My Hero Academia is coming out eventually, the final or a couple of final seasons. So we always watch.
I thought it was done.
No, it's not done yet. Well, the manga's done, but the anime is still coming out, and he makes me watch it dubbed or subbed. So yeah. Oh well. Very good, gentlemen. Well, mine are pretty quick. South Park, the 25th anniversary music special. If you've not watched this, it's now on YouTube. You can watch it anywhere. But basically, this is like Trey and Matt brought in for this concert at Red Rocks, and it's amazing. It's basically looking back on all of the music from not only South Park, but everything they've done from a music. Basically Team America. There's some music from there, some other things as well. Even some of their previous stuff where they made like Cannibal the Musical about the Donner Party. There's a lot of stuff there. I don't think there was any music in Basketball, unfortunately, but yeah. But also, I don't think there was anything from the Book of Mormon. Yeah, I don't think there was anything, but it was great. They brought in like all these talented artists, like Les Claypool from Primus was there the whole time. They brought in Ween was there, Dean Ween, and they brought them on. They had a bunch of other artists that were on that were amazing. And they went through all of the classic songs, like the Ballad of Lemmy-Winks was amazing. If you know that song, they did a great thing with costumes and stuff like that. They did. It was just great. If you really like South Park and its music, it was really great. So check out South Park, the 25th anniversary music celebration. It was in 2022, but it's on YouTube. It's a great watch, very fun. And then especially if you like South Park the musical. I mean, blame Canada. It feels like we're living South Park the musical right now, quite honestly. That's all I'll say with that. But don't blame Canada, folks. Don't blame Canada. And lastly, The Monkey. Charlie talked about this last week. This is the Stephen King short story. It's done by Osgood Perkins, who just did Longlegs. He's done a couple other things. And this is such an interesting watch because it is a dark horror comedy.
It is, yeah, okay. And it is supposed to be funny. All right.
Yes, funny, gory, and quite touching. Actually, it comes back to being about family, which I did not expect at the beginning where this was going to go. And it has definitely Stephen King touch points where it's talking about the past with two brothers and has that feeling like Stand By Me, where there's a voiceover from one of the characters from the past. And then it brings us into the present times. Great cast. Tatiana Maslany plays the mom, and she's amazing in this role. And it's just really fun, but it is sadistic. It is gory, and it goes places I didn't expect it to. I had a blast. It's a very concise movie, 90 minutes. It gets you in. Longlegs. It's not that dark and like brooding and like a foreboding, but it definitely hits those kind of like needful things. Remember that about like, cursed object. And that's exactly what this is. This monkey that this dad got, played by Adam Scott. Essentially, it's the dad. And there's a great scene with him where basically it's like if Gremlins went wrong, like right at the very beginning, though. And it's like that. And basically, unfortunately, this monkey that is basically the incarnation of the devil, that once it gets gets turned, it's one of those monkey like drummer toys. Essentially, it's unforeseen who will die, but somebody dies, and it feels like Final Destination, where you're like, how are they going to die? And it becomes very weird and very odd. You never know, and it just goes to places I highly recommend that you watch if you like this type of movie. But it's very gory. That's why I would say it's like you've got to really enjoy certain things. But I think the way they told the story was great. So. It's
Chris was trying to get me to see it.
Yeah.
He's saying like it was okay if I went to the movies if that's what I was going to see, I think was the way he said it.
I went by myself. There was one other dude, and I'm like, I guess we're in for a ride together, guy. So yeah, it's 11:15 showing.
I still want to see it. I need to see that.
Do you guys live close together? I can't remember. Like
we got a bridge. We got a bridge across.
Okay. Well, you could if you needed to. Okay, good to know. But yeah, I would recommend it. It's very fun. I mean, unless you want to wait, I don't know where it's going to stream, but yeah, I think Stephen King really appreciated this movie because some of his short stories are amazing. So yeah, that is it for me. So that is it for the Geekies. We're going to pay our bill. We'll probably leave a 10% tip because, quite honestly, there was no ice in our soda, and I found a fly in my soup. So we're going to call it adieu, and maybe next time we'll find a new place to meet. So with that, it's now time to travel down under to meet up with mutants and fun for the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're doing Showdown. We're talking about 2005 versus 2015. What was the best year for geeks? We're going to be looking at movies, TV, and comics. At this point, Chris, Tom, you already said you have a feeling what's going to be better, but I think we have to go deep because I think sometimes our memory is like, oh yeah, I remember that year. It's kind of like some people say 1984 is the biggest year for geeks. And some people, well, it's 85. We'll settle this because, we always talk about things were just that long ago. 2005 was now 20 years ago. Wow, It makes us feel old. Yeah. 2015, 10 years ago. So, and now our landscape is completely different in the world of nerd. So I think we're going to kick this off. So folks, play along at home. I've got a couple lists from a couple different places, and I'm going to go through these. And by all means, if you want to stop and talk about something, we can. But I'm going to list these off, and you let me know what you think about. We're going to start with movies. Starting with 2005. So with that, we're looking at movies. I'm going to go through the list here. It's got 32 films. V for Vendetta, the Alan Moore adaptation. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp playing Michael Jackson. Constantine, Keanu Reeves, in a very surprising take on the DC role. Serenity, the one-off film based on our friends on Firefly. Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith. I remember when I was in Europe and I saw a poster for this, and I also saw a guy in Paris with a Randy Moss jersey driving by in a Vespa. Very fun. Going to King Kong, the Peter Jackson version, based on the video game, with all those achievement points. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Martin Freeman and Sam Rockwell. Nanny McPhee, a new take on Mary Poppins. The Descent, a classic horror film. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which I think there was 3 of those films in that series. The War of the Worlds, the Steven Spielberg version of that adaptation. Saw 2, The Island, which was actually underloved sci-fi film by Michael Bay, Scarlett Johansson, Ian McGregor. Very fun movie there. The Jacket.
I loved The Island in 2005
I loved Island too,
because I went to go see it knowing literally nothing about what I was going to see, and I was like, "This movie's great."
Yeah.
So expectations. We talk about it. Chris and I talk about it on the show all the time. Like, I had no expectations for that movie, and it really surprised me. So.
Okay, so this next one, I didn't hear about this movie, but The Jacket, this sounds amazing. A Gulf War veteran is wrongly sent to a mental institution for insane criminals, where he becomes the object of a doctor's experiment, and his life is completely affected by them. This has Adrian Brody, Keira Knightley, and Daniel Craig in it. Oh, wow. I've never even heard of this film. Crazy. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This was an amazing film, horror film about exorcism. Very, very cool. Just Like Heaven. It looks like a rom-com, but Ghosts, maybe? Yeah. Zathura, kind of like the follow-up to Jumanji. Yes. The Brothers Grimm. This was an odd one. Heath Ledger, Matt Damon, Monica Bellucci, Terry Gilliam.
Wow, Terry Gilliam wrote that?
Yeah. It was okay. My expectations were too high based on all of the people in it.
Yeah.
The Devil's Reject, if you like those Rob Zombie films. Hostel, kind of like the beginning of the torture porn movies. Yeah. Skeleton Key, a smaller like horror film. And let's see, other than that,
Dark Water.
Dark Water, yep. That was there. Jennifer Connelly. Always good in it. John C. Reilly was in the movie. Fantastic Four. This was the first Fox film.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Let's see.
Should've
Land of the Dead. George Romero. Yeah. Other than that, I don't see much else. Oh,
Electra. Hello. Electra's there.
Let's talk about Electra. So there we go. That is 2005. Remember, this is pre-MCU. And we didn't really even have a DC movie in the mix. So
I have a very strong opinion about a 2005 movie that you did not mention.
Oh, okay.
Which is Kingdom of Heaven, starring Orlando Bloom.
Oh, yes.
Directed by Ridley Scott.
Yep.
It is one of my favorite films of all time. I own that film many times over. So
I didn't know Legolas
recommend.
Was in the Crusades.
Yeah,
Legolas was in the Crusades. Oh my goodness!
2 years after he, put his buddy Aragorn back on the throne, he went off
rode down the back of a giant elephant beast. Yes, remember that. All that great CGI. Then we go on to 2015 movies. This is a shorter list. and there's probably other movies I could probably grab from, but this is it. Star Wars The Force Awakens, 2015. Kingsman, The Secret Service. Crimson Peak, The Martian, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, or maybe Rouge Nation, depending on if you know how to spell. It Follows, Inside Out, What We Do in the Shadows, Ex Machina, and Mad Max Fury Road. But on the backside, you get some interesting films. Tomorrowland, Ted 2, Seventh Son. Oh my goodness. Fantastic Four. This is the Josh Trank one.
Fan Four Stick.
Yeah, Fan Four Stick, using fours or numbers and things. Terminator Genesis, him at Agent 47, Pan, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, Pixels, and Gem and the Holograms. Wow, I love it when they show the good and the bad. So that is 2015. So let's start with Chris. Chris, who won, 2005 or 2015?
Look, I appreciate 2005, but 2015, I think, and you totally did. You talk about Age of Ultron came out in 2015. So
is it 2015?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Some people would say that as a negative,
but it was like it was still when Marvel was,
yes,
still
it's
doing
at the
pretty
stage.
well. It was still
Josh
setting the
Whedon
stage.
was still considered a good guy.
Yeah. And like there's also Creed, Hateful Eight.
Oh, the Creed, yeah.
Ant-Man came out. That was a pretty cool series.
I don't know why I would miss
Paddington
those.
came out too. That's supposed
Paddington. I think that's the number one rated movie of all time.
Yeah. So like the Fast and Furious 7, like all the stuff was, like there was some
that
great
Too Fast, Too Furious.
No, this is
The
Furiously, maybe with the 7 in somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, like this Sicario came out that year too. Like there's some great movies that came out, and that's why I gotta say I'm sticking with 2015 because there was a lot of cool stuff that came out. I respect the stuff that came out in 2005, but 2015 definitely had. And Creed came out in 2015 too. So
yeah, Creed was a great movie. Finally saw those movies back to back because I was behind on those, and I really liked that series a lot. All right, Tom. So we got one vote for 2015. Do I already know your pick because it's your favorite movie is in 2005, Tom?
Yeah, and it makes me happy to invalidate Chris's vote at the same time. So, 2005 for sure. You have a better Joss Whedon movie in the form of Firefly. Serenity. And you have a better Star Wars movie. So,
a better Fantastic Four movie, unfortunately.
I think when you put a lot of these
Star
things,
Wars film, I don't know about that.
yes, definitely.
Okay,
The Force Awakens is. They literally went into the desert without a script. We went through this earlier.
Okay.
Force Awakens is just a retelling of the original Star Wars, which is bad on so many levels because, most importantly, it invalidates the success of the rebellion at the end of Episode 6. It literally undoes all of the greatness that the whole point of the original trilogy. So
apparently everybody from the original trilogy, it made them worse for wear.
yeah, I guess.
Yep. I get it. Yep. I totally get it.
you're the tiebreaker.
I see your point, Tom, and I'm going with Chris. Mad Max Fury Road is one of my favorite films. Love that film. It turned the tide for me for so many things. And considering there were movies we didn't bring up that I'm like, oh, I really like the first Ant-Man. I really like some of these things. So I'm going with that. And I did like the Force Awakens. Revenge of the Sith. Oh, I know people say it. I watched that movie with my son and several times, and just not for me. But that's okay. I saw my memory with that poster when I was in Europe, so that's a fun memory.
I saw it at midnight in the theater on opening day.
Tom, I'll tell you my sad story about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace really quick. I was so excited for that movie. This is really before YouTube existed. because the trailer for Phantom Menace was coming out, I saw
Uh-huh.
Wing Commander to watch the trailer. That led me down a path of depression that took me a long time to get out of, which The Mandalorian finally brought me out of. Oh, well. And Force Awakens, too. Oh, well. Moving on. So basically, we're leading. 2015 is leading 2-1. We got a total of 9 points available, so we'll see how this goes. 2005 in TV. Let's take a look. This is a tough one because TV was still not, the lack of streaming was really hurting genre TV, I would say. You had to be on Sci-Fi Channel. ABC might have a show. Maybe Sci-Fi. I mean, it was really lean pickings. So I'm going to go through the shows that I would count as genre shows in 2005. Supernatural, one of the longest running sci-fi shows of all time. One of my favorites. Then we got Doctor Who got a relaunch. How amazing is that? It was on Sci-Fi. The BBC brought it back. It was amazing. One of my favorite stories of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, launched in 2005. Yeah. Amazing. Launched 1,000 ships. Love that series. Going down. American Dad! If you like that show, I love it. Roger the Alien is one of my favorite characters. Love it. It's my favorite of the McFarlane shows. We go down to... I guess you could count Numbers as a genre show. I mean, I don't know if people don't remember Numbers, but Robot Chicken. This is so part of geek culture. All of the jokes, everything. It was already out for a while, but it's still on for quite a long time. But that was part of the culture. Let's go down. The Boondocks, if you like more animation, that was kind of cool. Aaron Magruder got to do that type of show. Medium. This is one of my wife's favorite shows of all time. It's amazing. I even if it wasn't like a genre show with a medium, Patricia Arquette's amazing. This series, I think this is one of my favorite, just mainline shows. Watch with my wife. It's amazing for the acting. It's one of my favorite TV couples of all time. It's amazing. Watch this with your spouse. They'll love it. If you don't have a spouse, watch it with a friend or your mom. You'll love it. Then we get to Invasion. Did anyone ever watch Invasion? This is Sean Cassidy helming it. He was one of the Hardy Boys, and basically a Florida park ranger and his family deal with strange occurrences in the aftermath of a hurricane. Then we had a series. Basically, it was a anthology series, Master of Horror, where you got all these great horror directors making vignettes, small episodes. Very, very cool. I'm glad they got to do that. They also did a sci-fi version, not as good. And there was Surface. This was a one-season show. Basically, a marine biologist, an insurance salesman, and a teenage boy find their lives fundamentally changed by the emergence of a new and often dangerous species of sea life with Lake Bell. Then we go to Ben 10. My son was a huge fan of the show. Very cute. Basically, this was done by... we call it Man of Action, but basically you get these comic book creators that made their own series. Really, really cool. American Dragon, Jake Long, and then Squidbillies, if you like,
it's Adult Swim, right? That was Adult Swim.
Adult Swim, yep. And then Threshold. This series, I did watch this. I liked it a lot. Didn't even last a year. 13 episodes, very cool. But basically, you got even what's his name? Brent Spiner was in this, Carla Gugino, and also Tyrion was in this.
Oh,
Lannister.
Okay.
Blanking on his name. But it was a great show. It was basically they discovered a new life form, and all these weird things happened. But it was killed too soon, and I think that's where I'm going to end because I don't find it. So as we know, 2005 pretty lean for just genre shows. So that's 2005. Anything you want to talk about with 2005 before I move on to 2015?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chris. No, you go first.
Well, this is it's not the premiere of this show, but it was only season 2. The 4400 was on.
Oh yeah,
and that was a really cool show. I really enjoyed that. And Mahershala Ali was in that. He has not aged since then.
No.
I was like, wait, what? Like, this is the same guy? I was like, that's crazy. And you forgot probably the biggest geek show, Attack of the Show, was on there too.
Oh, on G4.
Yeah. Like that, that was that was everything.
That was a thing.
Right,
Olivia Munn.
Pereira.
Working on Kevin
Pereira.
and all the people that we get to know from that show, Chris Gore, we got Blair. Blair, she did a lot of comics. That she would talk about comics. That show was great just for bringing in geek stuff to the masses. I love that so much. So many good things. Don't talk about the G4 like renovation that happened a couple years ago. That was horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah. Anything else I missed?
No, I mean that's what I got. But you go ahead, Tom.
Tom?
There are two things that I can think of that I very much enjoyed because in 2005, Chris and I were in college. You have Rome that was airing at that time.
Okay, that was on the list. I kind of missed it because I felt like that's history, but it had a lot of boobs in it, right? No, that's Spartacus. That's Spartacus.
I think you're thinking of Spartacus.
Lucy Lawless talking about history. Yeah.
But Ray Stevenson, what a great actor. And he's fantastic in that show. If you're a Ray fan because of Ahsoka or because of other things that he's done and you haven't seen Rome, do go back and watch it. I think it's a great show. My memory of it 20 years later is very positive. The other thing that was on at that time, I just Googled, was Weeds, which I know is not a genre show, but
but well acclaimed. Yep, Showtime.
Well acclaimed, and I liked it very much.
Yeah, it was a good show.
And Chris and I and several of our other college buddies at the time used to very much enjoy watching MXC. Extreme Elimination Challenge. And that was right in the middle of its run in 2005. And that was a silly good time. So,
yeah, I mean, we found our places to watch things because, like I said, there was not, I mean, Sci-Fi Channel had stuff, but at that point, the stuff coming out of Sci-Fi was okay. All right, let's get into 2015. These are the 20 best TV shows of 2015, thanks to Sci-Fi Now, which I don't even know if it exists. It's a UK thing, so we might even get some UK shows. So we start off with Doctor Who. This is Peter Capaldi, obviously 10 years later. Peter Capaldi's now the Doctor, still going well. The Return, this was a show about people that returned from the death and showed up, and they weren't exactly zombies. They just showed back up. It was kind of a unique look at that show. That was a UK show. Scream Queens. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. Love this show to death. It is amazing. Ryan Murphy essentially made, basically skewered the slasher genre, but focusing on the Scream Queens. And wow, this show is so much fun. This is where a lot of people finally got to know about one of our favorite guys, Glenn Powell, playing the role of Chad Radwell, who is the most dude bro of dude bros. It's amazing.
He's got that face.
Curtis is in this movie as the dean. People are dying. Oh my God, these women are amazing. It's fantastic. I recommend the show. There's 2 seasons of it. It is gone too well, but it's basically humor, comedy, horror. It is great. Then we get The Man in the High Castle. This is like, I think, Amazon's first real show talking about alternate history with World War II and the Nazis winning, essentially. Very, very cool take on something. Then we got Jonathan Strange, Mr. Norrell. I had meaned to watch more of this. Came out, it's an adaptation of the book. Very cool, about basically wizards in the real world, dark and black magic. Kind of a cool take on these two competing magicians in Victorian England. It's a very cool series. Then we got Daredevil. This is talking about the MCU. I guess it was MCU because it still counts at it, but not really. But it was like we had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then we had the Netflix stuff. Such a wide berth on what they were. And when we saw that initial hallway fight scene, we knew Daredevil meant business. Such a big deal. Then we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was the show that ABC got. And ABC should never be given any type of genre shows because they don't know what to do. They made Desperate Housewives with S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. That's what they did. Another one, Penny Dreadful. This was such a cool idea of taking pulp novels, basically all of the characters you think of, like the Picture of Dorian Gray. Then you had Frankenstein, Dracula, all those characters. I think even
Hyde with their. I think
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and then what was his name? Alan Quartermain, I think, played by Josh Duhamel. Really cool series on Showtime. I really like that. Didn't watch enough of it, though. Teen Wolf, MTV, actually made a TV show, which is very cool. Adaptation. People had a big fan following of that series. Game of Thrones. This was season... What season was it? Season 3?
5, it says?
Or season
5? Or
6.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, so essentially, this is at the end of all of the George R. R. Martin actual content before they started making up as they went along. Yeah, but great moments. Shame with Cersei. A lot of cool moments. Arrow. This is talking about the CW. Holy cow! On fire, bringing superheroes to light. We got the Supergirl series. We got the Flash. Orphan Black. Holy cow.
Yeah.
This is a dark horse. Tatiana Maslany just talked about her in The Monkey. She's amazing in just a series about clones, Dolly the sheep, all those things that made us worry about cloning. Now I don't think we even worry about cloning.
No.
The Flash, I believe this was probably season 3 by this point. Still well beloved. Rick and Morty, a show that I finally came around to. Oh my God, this show does so many crazy things. The Council of Ricks is still one of my favorite things in the world. It's divisive, but I think it has its own place for love. Agent Carter, a show that Charlie loves. I thought it was okay, but it was a cool look at a character before we got Captain Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Sense8, a show by the Wachowskis. I believe it was promising, but disappointed a lot of people. I don't know. Didn't watch any of it, but I heard it was kind of a mixed bag. Jessica Jones, really cool story. I love that character in the MCU. I think Alias is one of the best comics that Marvel ever put out. It's really, really good if you like that character and want more of that with the Purple Man. Humans, another series I didn't watch. This is where streaming's really kicking in, and then we're getting a ton of shows. And lastly, Hannibal. This is a series I need to watch.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
So good.
Mads Mikkelsen. I heard it's great. And the fact that it aired on NBC, from what I understand, was crazy.
I was so surprised this was on NBC. Like the stuff that they got away with, I was like, what? It felt like a Showtime show because of how violent it was, but it was so beautifully shot. And I think this is the guy who went on to do American Gods. If I remember.
He did. So this would have been I'm blanking on his name. This would have been Brian Fuller, who did what's the show? Pushing Daisies. Okay. Amazing show. Then he kicked off the new Star Trek series. He also did a couple of things. He might have done American Gods, and he's been associated. He's a great creator. Yeah. Brian Fuller's amazing. He even did he was going to do a Monsters reboot called Nightingale Lane, which they put out a pilot. It's amazing. It's really good. But yeah, he's great. And yeah, Brian Fuller's amazing. I hope he does more things.
Yes, he did do it. He do American Gods after this. So I was like,
I think he also did the Psycho prequel with Norman and his mom.
Oh, huh.
Whatever it was called, but I heard that was very good too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bates Motel.
All right. Did I miss anything? Yeah. Did I miss anything in 2015?
I don't think so.
I'll concede that Star Wars Rebels was in its second season in 2015.
Okay.
I was trying to pick things that would have been started in 2015.
That's the hard part. It's what started versus what was ongoing. Yeah. This is hard. We do that with shows that actually kicked off. So this list, I think, was more along the lines of shows that were happening in 2015 versus just kicking off. So that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. We'll start with Tom. What is your pick?
I'll be honest that looking at everything, going through your long list of stuff from 2015, outside of Daredevil, which I did watch at the time and I think was really good, I didn't really watch any of the rest of those shows. So hard for me to weigh in and say anything positive in that respect. But I did have pretty strong feelings again about 2005. So I'm going to give it to 2005 just on the grounds of that.
Okay. Chris.
Even though I really enjoyed Hannibal and Jessica Jones and Daredevil and The Flash, all the WB shows were kind of kicking on all cylinders there. Yeah, I got to go with 2005. There was just a lot of great stuff that came out that time, and that's I just can't think of anything else because 2005 was just so formative for me, in terms of geekiness and stuff like that. So it was and
yet you betrayed me on the movies.
Hey, I'm just saying it's my choice. All right, my vote, my choice.
Chris is his own man, Tom. Chris is his own man.
Yeah.
He's beholden to no one.
See, I'm glad he's
Loyalty.
beginning to see reason here.
No.
I hope you do too.
Well, I hate to say it, gentlemen. We are all aligned.
Okay.
2005 with Supernatural and Avatar. To me, that is just such a formative year of such amazing content that went on for so long and still exists. So we're 2005. Thank you for your great TV. Considering how much content we got in 2015,
Yeah.
It's always quality over content or quality over quantity. So let's get into our last category. This one's a little more difficult because, there's individual series that were still awesome that year, but these lists were harder to really go through. I was reading comics in 2005, also 2015. I'm still reading today. So let's go to 2005 and let's see if we got the ones that are there. If there's any that you think of that this doesn't cover, let me know. So we start with, on this list, this is from Signal Bleed, which I don't know if they still exist, if this is just an old website. Fell by Warren Ellis and Ben Templesmith. Great creators, series I don't know anything about. Young Avengers, Alan Heinberg, Jimmy Chung, and various Marvel's others. The big part about this book that was highlighted because Alan Heinberg was the writer on the OC, and it got a lot of pub that the OC writer was doing a comic book. A lot of characters actually from this have gone on to do more things. So I think it was formative, but it just kind of has never continued on as something big. Optic Nerve, more of an indie book. Don't know much about it. Runaways finally came back. Brian K. Vaughan came back to the series. I started reading this series in college, so it's got its days. Got a series on Hulu, but really loved Runaways. Thought it was a great idea. I don't think it was as embraced after the first run. Then we had Fables. Fables is one of my favorite series of all time. I actually went to a Fable Con in Rochester, Minnesota. That one of the only Fable conventions that ever happened. Got to meet the creator. It was great. Great series, and some people would say it inspired on Once Upon a Time, that DC show, but really cool.
Yes,
and also that came from the video game. We got what was it called? Fables. It was Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Silent Dragon, Andy Diggle, Lenuel Yu. I don't know much about this. DC Wildstorm. Then we get Why the Last Man, one of my favorite comic books of all time. A great series. Got a short-lived TV adaptation. Dead too soon. Gravity, Sean McKeever, Mike Norton, Marvel character. I don't think he's ever been talked about since. Revelations, Paul Jenkins, Humberto Ramos. Love the artist, love Paul Jenkins. Don't know much about this. And then lastly, New Warriors. This is where Marvel was trying to bring back in a comedic take those New Warrior folks. And I don't know if it succeeded or not, because I don't think anybody talks about the New Warriors today. So anything I missed from comics in the year 2005?
I can't even think about comics at that time. I don't think.
Yeah, the honest truth is, I don't think I was reading comics in 2005.
Yeah, I think
You guys were in college, right?
Yeah, I think I hopped off comics at that time because we didn't.
I went to my local comic shop every Wednesday in college. It was my thing. Like, I would go there, go to the arcade, put some quarters down, have a good day. Yeah, so it's a shame, but yeah, this was a good year for comics. But yeah, some of those things are no longer even relevant. I would say almost none of these books are still coming out today. So 20 years ago, yeah, comics are much shorter lived. So there we go with 2005. Then we go to 2015. I would say comic books are more in the limelight. More people are into it. You can read comics on. At this point, I don't know if comic apps were really still a thing yet in regards to like Comixology or those. I think it's still too soon. I think it's more of a maybe a 20, maybe a couple years later finally came to progress. There we go. So we've got the best comics of 2015. Batgirl. This is a great run. Brendan Fletcher, Cameron Stewart, really cool. Great iconic look. Chew. A fantastic comic book.
Yes.
Love this book about a guy who has the ability to eat any food and tell you where it came from. That's good and bad.
Well, how it died.
Tell
you how it died.
Oh, how it died. Yeah. And he can track it back.
Yeah.
So he basically is a member of like the FDA because chickens were banned. So he tries to block back. He tries to break,
weird comic
because apparently chickens killed 1 billion people. But that kind of it leads you down a dark path. I love that book.
So good.
Witch Hunter, 1602, Witch Hunter, Angela. Basically, this is the Marvel series 1602, where it took place in like that old time, but brought in Neil Gaiman's Witch Hunter, Angela, which is just a weird character. Mm-hmm. Saga, another great book by, we've got Brian K. Vaughan, amazing writer who rarely fails, always does good stuff. And this series is still ongoing. I'm well behind on it, but I really love the story. It's basically Romeo and Juliet with magic and science in the future. Civil War. This is a huge part of Marvel. When it came, obviously we had the movies, but basically this is basically a gap between Cap and Iron Man and the Registration Act and all that fun stuff. Bloodshot, cool character from Valiant, but a lot of people really don't know anything about Bloodshot except that Vin Diesel made a movie with Bloodshot.
Yeah, he tried, failed.
Manifest Destiny, know nothing about this book. Miss Marvel, great character, great series. One of the best new additions to the Marvel Universe. Omega Man, I believe I read an issue of Omega Man. Didn't really stand out, didn't do much, but I would say one of the last books on this book is Vision. This is a great take on Vision, where we got with Scarlet Witch, the MCU series, basically Vision tries to create a family of other Visions, and it goes awry. Tom King wrote this. Tom King has become one of the best writers in comics. We got the Batman series by Scott Snyder. This is a pivotal run for DC at the time. It was amazing with Greg Capullo. Had really invented, I would say the Court of Owls is probably the biggest output of the series. Amazing. Deadly Class, kind of a cool take on assassins. Actually was a short-lived TV series as well in sci-fi. Oh. Justice League, Jeff Johns, great writer. Jason Fabok. I don't know much about this run, to be honest. There have been so many, it's hard to tell. But Chrononauts, I tell you, anything by Mark Millar and Sean Murphy is amazing. This is just a fun flashbook. It basically is if you had a time travel story that was kind of like the Fall Guy movie with Ryan. What Ryan is?
Gosling.
Yes, Gosling. This is like that, but from the 70s perspective. The art's great. I love it. It's so much fun. We got the new Star Wars comic line. Oh, Jason Aaron, John Cassidy. Rest in peace, John Cassidy. His covers are amazing. The character is awesome. That was the reinvention of Star Wars back into Marvel. So that is 2015. So with that, gentlemen, comics. You know what? I'll go first because I love comics.
Yeah.
And with all of these things, this is really hard for me to pick. But Chew and Saga are amazing books. So I'm going with 2015. Chris.
I have to double check one thing though, before I put in my vote. But yeah, I think I am with you. That 2015 definitely had the better comics. Oh yeah. Okay. Never mind. All right. Just making sure. Because I wanted to make sure if this was when 100 Bullets came out, but it did not.
Oh,
it was. Okay. Its run was during that.
Was in that period, but yeah, it did not come out
in 2005. Rather, 2005 was in their mix.
Okay,
but yeah, it's clearly that. It's clearly 2015 for me. The Batman, the Court of Owls, like that whole scene with like Joker having his own face getting cut off and then stapling it back to himself was just so crazy.
I have a Court of Owls mask up there. Came with the collection. It's really amazing. It's
unbelievable. Great stuff. And like I always thought that Greg Capullo, like when he took over Spawn, I was like, oh, he's just copying McFarlane's art style and stuff like that, whatever. But he really like came into his own style, I think, with this. I mean, of course, it's like in the later runs of Spawn, he's gotten like his own kind of look and feel, but like I think he just did fantastic with Batman, and I was really blown away by that whole run.
Yeah, he illustrated this book. I just subscribed to Marvel Unlimited, their like major thing, and this is like a special edition. And he illustrated it, and he's amazing. So I give him kudos. It looks great.
Yeah,
he has become onto his own, and also Civil War. I mean, talk about something that was pivotal, big part of Marvel. That was a huge event.
Absolutely.
So Marvel was finally coming to its own as title with its events. All right, Tom, final say.
Yeah. Really, like I was struggling to find some stuff from 2005 that I would tip it that way, but for me, it's definitely got to be 2015. I was really upset when they took the Star Wars license away from Dark Horse and handed it back to Marvel. It created a scenario where a lot of books I was reading got canceled prematurely. But the ultimate consequence is some really excellent books on the Star Wars front. And again, this IDW Turtles that I love so much began a few years earlier and was really hitting its stride in 2015. So, yeah, it's going to be 2015 for me as well.
Okay, I'm going to break this down. For movies, 2015 is the winner. For TV, 2005 is the winner. In comics, 2015 is the winner. And that breaks us down to our final numbers. 2005 comes in with 4 points. 2015, 5. 2015 is the winner. I don't know if we would have guessed that.
I was leaning towards 2015, I'll be honest. But
It still feels wrong to me.
You have to go back to the Academy on that one, Tom. I'll give you their number.
Two-thirds of my votes.
999. Yes. Madam Web maybe didn't influence them. So after your dinner, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. If you asked Tom, it was 2005.
So Tom with a dissent.
Oh yeah, because both my movies and my TVs say 2005.
That's true. I was I went only. Yeah, I think you were the only one to vote 2005 anywhere else outside of those. So yeah, it was kind of a landslide, unfortunately. Not really 4-5. So what am I saying? It was close, but no cigar. So with that, we are done with the show. This has been so much fun, gentlemen. I think we had a blast. We solved a mystery. We made a claim. If you disagree with us, let us know. We'd love to talk it out. But with that, I want to say thank you to both Chris, Tom. It's been too much fun. Chris, it's been great to have you back on. And Tom, it's been too long. So we'd love to, have you on one of our other shows or have you back onto co-op mode with Chris so we can talk about the fun things in video games. So with that, Tom, where can people find you around the interwebs?
Oh man, let's not have Tom do it. Chris, who is our professional here, will handle this.
Yeah, you can't find Tom anywhere on the internet. That's basically what he's trying to say. But
it's on MySpace, I think.
Maybe on MySpace, if that's still around. But yeah, so you can find us doing our show, 1 Hour, One Decision, on all podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. We do our streams. We have a LinkTree, and we're on Twitter and Blue Sky and all that stuff. But I honestly, it's just too much noise. I'm just not really doing too much there. But if you do want to say hello there, I mean, I'll respond. It's just I generally just don't try to interact over there. But yeah, we're going 200 plus episodes strong. We're trying to catch up to you guys, and check us out on Twitter at TC1H1D, at Blue Sky at 1H1D. We got that one for 1H1D, so that was super happy about that. And on Twitch and all that stuff. Like I said, we're doing stuff there, and hop on the ride for us.
Chris, I really thought you were gonna knock that down as a home run since you do it at the end of every one of our shows.
I do. I know.
And then
it's different, it's different format. No, it's not a different format, but you know what I'm saying.
It's weird when you're on a different show. When you're on a different show, it always comes out a little weird.
In the wrong, not in the right mindset for it.
Exactly.
And I never say it on our show, so I am woefully unprepared for it. But yes, please do check out our podcast where we talk about a random game from the Xbox Game Pass, and we decide whether or not it is worth continuing to play.
1 hour, one decision. Always a good listen. Chris has done some reviews, so check those out too. I believe been very fun, very professional. Chris has got a great voice. Tom is always fun to ping off of Chris, so check it out if you're into the Xbox ecosystem, either on your PC streaming or on the console. Game Pass always has great entries, and they let you know which games you should check out. So thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been a blast. It's been too long, and we will definitely have you on in the future and check out their content. Great people doing great things. And for me and the Secret Friends Unite team, check out Todd Oxtra at Blue Sky, at T Oxtra, at Threads, at Instagram, and then check out Secret Friends at Secret Friends Unite with maybe dots in it at both Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. So with that, thank you, gentlemen. It's been great. Hopefully you continue to venture into the world of the geek and have fun. And with that, I'll say, be the hero, not the villain.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.